the police station since it got closed down and the police moved out? How many of you? Can I see hands? Okay, I just want to make sure that those speakers on the front row can turn around and see that they know that the audience is extremely concerned and familiar with the site. So that we have a very educated audience, and I want to make that point because otherwise they go on speaking for 2 days about the site, and I want to make sure that you know that you have a very educated audience, so let's keep it tight in your presentations. We are, of course, extremely happy that the site is no longer with the Tourism Commission. Thank you. We are also happy, I think, that the site went to the Jockey Club, although everybody was very surprised that we were suddenly informed that the Jockey Club was going to have it. We also, excuse me, did you ask us first? And the public was not consulted on this one. But I think overall everybody is happy that this opportunity has been taken by the Jockey Club. Proviso that they're going to do a good job. So that's why we're here for today. Of course, everybody then was very surprised by the bamboo structure. I'm not sure whether we were surprised by the height of the structure or whether the look of the structure. Maybe we should ask the question today, why no bamboo structure anymore? But we leave that to our speakers. And that's where the story will start for them. After the bamboo structure was proposed, public consultation started, and that's where it will be picked up. The speakers today, Mike Moore, Director of Property at the Hong Kong Jockey Club, will start off. After that, Michael Morrison, who's partner in Purcell, Miller and Tritton, who's the conservation architect, who's also known for his work on Government Hill. He doesn't want to know about that today, because it's been very controversial if you've seen the papers lately. Chris White, he has the title of Interpretation Consultant. Now, I have no clue what that means, so I'll leave that to Chris to explain that to you. Then Raymond Gaten will take over. He's the project architect for Herzog de Meuron, and he will take you and probably spend time in detail to take you through this project. Herzog and de Meuron were of course also involved in Tate's, Modern in London, and the Bird's Nest Stadium in Beijing. And the final presenter will be David Elliott, who is an art curator and writer, and he will take you through the art and performance, arts operating model for the site. So that's it. They've promised to stick that to 85 minutes. We have somebody timing that, because that leads us to our normal City Speak model, which is that we then have 60 minutes to ask them all kinds of questions. They will then take the chairs, sit in front, and have a debate with you about what they should be thinking about, or whether you like what they have told you or not. So let me start right away. Mike Moy.
Paul is my favourite urbanist. As Paul said, I'm going to start off by picking up from the public consultation. The public consultation basically was after the bamboo scaffold that Paul talked about. Essentially, these are the main issues which people were concerned about, and I think you're probably all very familiar with them, so I don't propose to recite them. I'd rather just move on and just let you know how the Jockey Club reacted to that. First of all, it was obviously very important that conservation was the main issue. And it was that point that the Purcell, Miller, Tritton were appointed, and Michael here will pick up the story. But essentially, the issues were the Conservation Management Plan, which was published, I think, in 2008. We had the adaptive reuse potential needed to be assessed. And of course, we had to work with the Antiquities and Monuments Office on all of this. Another issue for us was, there was generally support for arts use of the site, but the question is how to do it. Now, the club, although the club has been a big supporter of the arts over the years and has continuously put money into arts funding, we don't claim to have arts expertise. So we selected Asia Art Archive really to undertake a consultation for us at a more detailed level of what we felt the arts community would like to see on this site, and some idea of how we could put all that together. That was completed just at the beginning of last year. We were slightly surprised in May, because if you know, the height was an issue, and there was no height limit on the site at the time that we started. But we knew that there was a dialogue going on within government to impose a height limit. What they did was not exactly what we were expecting. So the height limit was imposed, and it essentially created two areas in which it was obviously possible to have new buildings. And you see, that was in May last year, so I'm not saying we had to start again, but we had to go back and seriously revisit our overall concept. What are we trying to achieve? Obviously, I think, as I said at the beginning, conservation and heritage is a key issue. And the question of how you tell the history of the site and how you tell that story is something that we've been working with Chris White on, and Chris will cover that aspect. The primary use of the compound will be arts. And what we're looking to create is a centre for visual and performing arts that is going to have international, regional and local significance, something that really is a valuable community asset, not just for Hong Kong, but for the region as well. And David is going to talk about how we do that. And finally, we want this to be a gathering place. We want people to go there. We want them to feel comfortable. I think most of you have been inside the compound and some of those temporary exhibitions. It is an absolutely wonderful place. But we certainly don't want to lose any of that ambience and that wonderful environment. And therefore, I think Raymond will be explaining in his presentation how we keep the integrity of the compound, how we make it a piece of urban design in which people want to go and want to feel comfortable in. One of the things, of course, that I'm continually asked about is, I hope you're not going to do another Heritage 1881. Well, I can absolutely assure you we're not going to do that. We will have a very rigorous letting policy for the commercial tenants, and in fact that part of how we're going to do that is in the Section 16 application, so we are being transparent about this. We have no hidden agenda. This has to be, the tenant selection has to be people who are compatible with the heritage and the arts scheme, and it won't be finance or price won't be the main driver, won't be the main criteria. If you look at what we're doing, the heritage buildings are roughly 20,000 square metres, which is 78% of the total, and the new area is a very modest 21% of the 5,600 square metres. When you look at the split of uses, 37% arts and culture, the commercial is about 27%, and the rest of it is services, public areas, and support. So it's not quite a third. If anything, we've played the commercial component down. That's partly related to the adaptive reuse of the buildings. Some buildings are not suitable for commercial purposes, and so they essentially they are. Finally, this question of arts programming. As I said earlier on, we're definitely not an arts organisation, and we, with a bit of advice, we were asked to. I've suggested I should talk to David Elliott, and it was probably one of the best pieces of advice I got. I'm sure David will give you a very entertaining insight as to how we see things working in terms of arts programming in the future. So thank you. I would now like to hand over to Michael Morrison, who is going to talk about heritage conservation aspects.